Hello friends, I'm back with the third and final part of the video series where I rank and rate every sunscreen I have used in my entire life. Now today I'm going to rank organic/chemical sunscreens. And since I have tried many organic sunscreens in my entire life, this video will be slightly longer than the previous two sunscreen ranking videos. So do stick with me till the end to find out more about which ones I liked and which ones I didn't quite like. Now if you haven't watched my previous two videos where I ranked and rated inorganic sunscreens and hybrid sunscreens, do check them out. I've put the links in the description below and they're also up here. Now, if you're not too sure what inorganic, hybrid, and organic sunscreens refer to or what UV filters are, do check out my video on what are sunscreens. I've put the link up here and it's also in the description. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I do mostly skincare videos, so if that's what you are interested in, hit the like button and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. So as usual, I'll be using the same categories in the tier maker that I used in the previous two videos to rank the organic sunscreens for this video. First up for organic sunscreens, we have the Krave Beauty Beet the Sun. This used to be my favorite indoor sunscreen that I kept repurchasing and kept going back to until it was sadly discontinued because when they sent it for independent SPF testing, it turned out to be lower than SPF 50. And they decided not to continue formulating this sunscreen anymore. So that was just sad for me. Now, they didn't disclose exactly what SPF this sunscreen turned out to be, but apparently it was just below 50. So this sunscreen was incredibly lightweight for me. It worked so well under makeup. It did not clog my pores or irritate my skin at all. It felt so comfortable on my skin and it was smooth and easy to apply and easy to blend in. There was no white cast whatsoever. So this sunscreen had a super dewy finish. If one day Krave Beauty just decided to reformulate this sunscreen to make sure it's really SPF 50, I will definitely repurchase this. So sadly, this goes under discontinued. Okay, next up we have a few sunscreens from Biore. The first one is Biore UV Perfect Spray. I bought this because I thought that it was just a really convenient way to reapply sunscreen, especially on top of makeup. It was super affordable and had no white cast. However, it irritated my skin and it also felt oily and it clogged my pores. So I stopped using it and I won't repurchase it anyway, mostly also because the skin on my face is sensitive to octinoxate. So this one goes under not for me. Next is the Biore UV Sunscreen Milk for kids. It is marketed for kids, but adults can use it as well. I really loved using this sunscreen on my body. It was super affordable. It is incredibly lightweight. It had no white cast, it doesn't transfer, it doesn't pill or ball up on my skin. And at the same time, it was easy to spread. So this dries down to a sort of natural semi-matte kind of finish. It did not cause any irritation on the skin of my body because my body is just tolerant of most skincare products anyway. However, I did not try this on my face, although I wouldn't dare to because it does contain octinoxate and I know my face is sensitive to octinoxate, so I'm not exactly sure how it will work on my face. However, I will definitely repurchase this for my body. For those who have oily and acne prone skin, if you are thinking of whether you should try this on your face, you might just want to take note that there's only one ingredient, mainly cetyl alcohol, that can be potentially pore clogging. So I'm not sure if it will clog your pores, but I have personally never tried it on mine, so it is a point of consideration for those oily acne prone skin people. I would put this sunscreen under for the body. Okay, next up I have a few sunscreens from Banana Boat. The first one is Banana Boat Ultra Protect Sunscreen. I used this a really long time ago and I really like to use it on my body. I have never really tried it on my face, so I'm not quite sure how my face would react to it. But on my body, it was just incredibly lightweight. It was moisturizing, it didn't transfer, it was pretty much water resistant, and it has no white cast. This did not cause any irritation on my body skin, but I decided not to repurchase this because I found it to be a bit pricey as a body sunscreen. And in addition to that, I just found that Biore makes body sunscreens that have a similar feel and texture, and they use better UV filters, and they're just so much cheaper than Banana Boat. So I decided to switch over to Biore when it comes to body sunscreens. So I would put this under for the body. Next up is Banana Boat Ultra Sport Lotion. I used this on my body a long time ago when I was a teenager. My parents bought this for me to try when I do outdoor activities. So this sunscreen felt a little bit thicker and more occlusive than the Ultra Protect sunscreen. I didn't like or hate this sunscreen, but I decided that I will not repurchase this for myself because it can be a little bit pricey for the kind of protection and texture and feel that it offers. I would rather go for Biore if I wanted an affordable body sunscreen that is suitable for outdoor use. Okay, next up is the Banana Boat Kids Sunscreen Lotion. Now, I used this sunscreen when I was a kid in primary school, and back then it was fine. It felt okay on the skin, it was not irritating, and it had no white cast. This was not particularly oily or heavy or greasy at all, and neither was it super lightweight. So I didn't like it or hate it. It was just okay. The formulation for this sunscreen is fine as a kid's sunscreen, although I just prefer the Biore kid sunscreen. Next is the La Roche-Posay Anthelios Shaka Fluid. I really wanted to love this sunscreen. It was incredibly lightweight for a super water-resistant sunscreen, and it also has super high UVA and UVB protection. This has no white cast, it has a smooth, silky, runny kind of texture, and it's incredibly easy to apply and blend into my skin. However, there was one particularly pore clogging ingredient that was super high on the ingredient list, and that just clogged my pores and triggered my acne about like one day after using it. So sadly, because this sunscreen caused me to break out, I just decided that I can't repurchase it. And at the same time, it was not worth it to use as a body sunscreen because it was pretty expensive for a tiny bottle. So unfortunately, this one goes under not for me. The next is the Eucerin Sun Dry Touch Oil Control Face. So this sunscreen is marketed for oily skin and it claims to be dry touch. However, it was none of the above. It felt so heavy and oily and greasy on my skin that I hated it and just did not want to apply this sunscreen on my face or my body at all. So I just finished this sunscreen and never came back to it. So this one goes under not for me. Next, we have two sunscreens from Bioderma. The first one is the Bioderma Photoderm Max Aquafluid. Now this is my current favorite outdoor sunscreen for my face. I just love it so much and I keep repurchasing it. I think I purchase a new one every month or so. This particular sunscreen has a high UVB and UVA protection. I believe the UVA protection is at a PPD of 24, which is more than the minimum that is required to get PA4+. So that was really a plus for me. It doesn't have much of a white cast, although it does have a bit of a tone-up cream effect on my skin. So far, it's the only water-resistant sunscreen I've tried that feels lightweight on my skin, didn't clog my pores and didn't break me out, and didn't feel heavy or greasy at all. It is not as ultra lightweight as some of my favorite indoor sunscreens, but because it is water resistant and so long lasting, I will just accept that. So I love this and highly recommend it. It works really nicely on my body skin as well. However, I wouldn't use it as a body sunscreen because this one comes in a tiny 40 ml bottle and it will be pretty expensive if I were to use it as a body sunscreen. So I just use it as a face sunscreen, but this definitely goes under. Absolutely love it. Next is the Bioderma Photoderm Max Light. Now, I like using this on my body, but it does peel up and ball a little bit if you apply too much at one go. However, I would say that it feels lightweight on the body, it is water resistant, and yet it doesn't transfer, it's not greasy, it doesn't feel heavy at all. It does, however, have a very slight white cast. I didn't try this on my face because I was a little bit concerned about the peeling and the balling giving me some textural issues. This was a little bit pricey for me as a body sunscreen, so I didn't consider repurchasing this. So I would say that this goes under for the body. Next is the Purito Centella Green Level Unscented Sun. I bought this before the whole Korean sunscreen SPF issue blew up on the internet. This was okay on my face, but I wanted to like it because there were so many people on YouTube and on Instagram that say that this was so lightweight and they loved using it, and I thought that it would be lightweight on me too, but it just wasn't. On my skin, it felt slightly heavy and a little bit occlusive. I also didn't particularly enjoy this as much as some other indoor sunscreens that I love. This sunscreen was also formulated with some pore clogging ingredients that did eventually clog my pores. So I decided not to repurchase this sunscreen. Anyway, this sunscreen turned out to actually be around an SPF of 30-ish and not 50 as they claim to be. But I don't particularly love or hate this anyway. This sunscreen is currently discontinued, although I think Purito did say that they are reformulating some sunscreen and will come back with a new sunscreen. However, I have found other sunscreens to turn to and will not come back to this. So this goes under discontinued. Next up is Dear Klairs Soft Airy UV Essence. This was super lightweight and comfortable on my skin. I really like this one, although it was tested to be of an SPF that is lower than what it claims to be. And because it is not actually SPF 50, it was discontinued. I am not sure if Dear Klairs will reformulate this sunscreen. However, I won't repurchase this sunscreen because I have found other indoor sunscreens that offer better protection for the same kind of lightweight texture. So sadly, this one goes under discontinued as well. Next is the Keep Cool Soothe Bamboo Sun Essence. Now this sunscreen was really lightweight, had no white cast, works well under makeup, and dries down to a beautiful semi-matte finish. It didn't clog my pores or irritate my skin or trigger acne. And I really love this sunscreen until it was discontinued. Also because it was tested to be an SPF that was way below 50 as it claimed to be. They didn't disclose exactly what SPF number it was tested to be, but apparently it was too low to be rated or something like that. I'm not sure if they will reformulate this sunscreen. However, I have moved on from this and found my new favorite sunscreen, so I will not repurchase this even if they reformulated it. So this one goes under discontinued. Next is the Be Plain Clean Ocean Moisture Sunscreen. Now there are two versions I've tried before, the 2020 version and the 2021 version. I first bought this in 2020 before the whole Korean sunscreen SPF testing thing happened. So the 2020 version was actually tested to be SPF 30, which I actually didn't mind as an indoor sunscreen. It was incredibly lightweight, it had no white cast, it felt so beautiful and comfortable on my skin, and it dried down to a very soft, dewy finish. It was also nice and hydrating and moisturizing at the same time. So this 2020 version turned out to be SPF 30 and not 50 as it claimed to be. However, I found that SPF 30 is still okay as an indoor sunscreen. So even if they didn't reformulate this and kept it at SPF 30, I would still recommend this as an indoor sunscreen and I would still love to use it every day. So this year in 2021, they decided to reformulate this sunscreen to make sure it reaches SPF 50 as they claim to be. So in order to get the SPF 50, they added other UV filters to boost the SPF. So when I bought the 2021 reformulated version, I just felt that the reformulated version was just slightly heavier than the previous 2020 version that I loved so much. However, it was still sort of lightweight, but just more moisturizing in a way. But anyway, I still love it and will repurchase it and keep using it. So that goes under absolutely love it. Next is the Isntree Hyaluronic Acid Watery Sun Gel. This sunscreen is super hydrating and at the same time it is super incredibly lightweight. It doesn't clog my pores, it didn't trigger my acne, it didn't irritate my skin at all. I absolutely love this sunscreen and have repurchased it many times. Now, this sunscreen is becoming more popular in Singapore, so there are times when it will go out of stock online. So when that happens, I will just go and purchase the Be Plain Clean Ocean Moisture Sunscreen. But anyway, this sunscreen has a super dewy finish. Like, it's just so shiny. So if you're not used to the shiny, dewy finish, it takes a while to get used to it. However, just because it has a dewy finish doesn't mean it's greasy. It is totally not greasy at all. I love this and I highly recommend it, and this definitely goes under absolutely love it. Next is the Nivea Sun Protect Refresh Invisible Cooling Spray. Now, I bought this quite a while back when I was still in university. I wanted to use it in orientation camp because I thought it would be just so much easier to just spray on my sunscreen and be done with my sunscreen application. So it claims to be invisible and non-greasy. Well, it was indeed invisible and colorless. However, it was super greasy. So when I spray this on my skin, I have to go to the bathroom to spray it on, and every time I sprayed it on my body, it would just leave behind an oily residue on the floor wherever I sprayed my skin. I've only used it on my body because I was afraid that it would cause irritation on my face. Even though I only used this on my body, it felt so heavy and greasy and oily and just so uncomfortable on my skin that I decided not to use this after I was done with the whole camp. It didn't irritate the skin on my body, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless you're okay with using sunscreens that have lots of alcohol, fragrance, and essential oils. And if you don't mind the greasy, oily texture. Or maybe this sunscreen might not be greasy on you, but personally, for me, I disliked it, so this is not for me. Okay, next, we have a few sunscreens from L'Oreal. So next, we have the L'Oreal UV Perfect Super Aqua Essence Advanced Watery Gel. I bought this a really long time ago when it first came out, and when the marketing campaign for this particular sunscreen was really intense. And that was way before I learned to check and learn to read ingredients lists. Now, this sunscreen was marketed to be the first sunscreen to be tested under a UV camera, which is sort of a marketing gimmick actually. But I did fall for the intense marketing campaign. So back then, I liked this sunscreen because it was lightweight and it felt nice on my skin, and I had the idea that this gave me super good UV protection. So at that time, it just felt nice and smooth on my skin and didn't irritate my skin. L'Oreal has since rebranded this sunscreen to a different name, but I will not repurchase this because currently my skin is sensitive to fragrance and essential oils and some other potentially acne triggering ingredients that are found in this sunscreen. So next is the L'Oreal UV Perfect Super Aqua Essence City Face Mist. So I also bought this a really long time ago, around the same time as the previous sunscreen. I just thought that it was a convenient way to reapply sunscreen on top of makeup. However, it did feel a little bit heavy on my skin, though it wasn't greasy. Yeah, so likewise, I totally fell for the marketing campaign on this one. Though right now I will not repurchase this sunscreen because it contains fragrance and essential oils which my face skin is sensitive to. I think L'Oreal has discontinued this product because I cannot find it anywhere and I can't find it on the internet either. So even if they did reformulate this, I just will not repurchase. This one goes under discontinued. So next is the Ultrasun SPF 50 Plus Extreme Sun Lotion. This sunscreen is not so easily available in Singapore. It is made in Switzerland, and I would think it is much more easily accessible in Europe. I bought a 100 ml bottle of this to try it out first, and I really like this sunscreen, especially on my body. So after that, I repurchased a 40 ml version of this. So as I mentioned, I love this as a body sunscreen. It does feel a little bit heavy on my skin, but it dries down to a matte finish and it leaves no white cast. It also doesn't transfer so easily. This sunscreen lasts for a really long time and it's incredibly water resistant. So it is great as an outdoor sunscreen for the body. However, I would say that I would need to use a shower oil to completely remove it from the skin on my body. I did try this on my face, but it felt a little bit too thick for my liking. So I just decided that this will be a body sunscreen instead. It can be a little bit on the pricey side for a sunscreen, but my personal opinion is that it's super worth it because of the high protection that it gives and how long it lasts, especially if I buy the 400 ml version of this. So this one goes under for the body. Okay, and that wraps up the entire ranking and rating of all the sunscreens I have used in my entire lifetime, for as far as I can remember anyway. For those of you who have watched this sunscreen ranking series ever since the first video, thank you so much for your support and thank you for staying till the end. I hope this review marathon has helped to guide you in your decision process as you start thinking about how to find a sunscreen that suits you best. Remember, everyone's skin is different, so if you have oily, acne-prone skin like I do, my personal favorite sunscreens might work really well for you as well. Conversely, the sunscreens that didn't quite work so well for me might work well for you, especially if you have a different skin type or if you have different skin concerns, like if you don't have oily acne-prone skin, or if your skin is not sensitive, or if your skin is pretty much normal and resilient, or if your skin is dry. Or maybe if you have a different skin type from me, some of my favorite sunscreens might work well for you too. But my point is, learn to read the ingredients in the sunscreen label and do check for potential irritants like fragrance, essential oils, pore clogging ingredients, etc. Do check out and watch and read different reviews from different sources and different opinions, especially from people who have the same skin type as you do. Then do try a sunscreen that could potentially work really well for you. If it does actually work well for you, that's great. But if it doesn't, then keep searching for one until you find one that works well for you and stick to it. So remember, sunscreen is the most important part of your skincare routine, so make sure you find one that works well for you and keep using it. As usual, all products mentioned are in the description below, except for those that are discontinued. Now, this really is the last sunscreen video I will be doing for quite some time. In the next couple of videos, I will be talking more about dealing with oily, acne-prone skin. So do like and subscribe for more, and see you next time. Bye!